Hello there, people of the internet. How is everybody doing today? I'm doing alright, thanks for asking. I'm a military surplus firearms collector, as I'm sure you guys have noticed, and I show off things like this all the time on the YouTube channel. If you like this type of stuff, subscribe to the channel because you're among the right crowd, and I do this all the time. Every time I get one of these guns, every single time, no matter what firearm it is, if it's a military surplus rifle or a used rifle, I grab myself the cartridge that it's chambered in, and I put it into the muzzle, and I see if the muzzle has any life left inside of it. Normally you would want a little bit of the bullets sticking out. That indicates that you're going to have a rifle engagement, and thus you're not going to have keyholing bullets, and your rifle should be fairly accurate. Now, that being said, yeah, these right here, the military surplus rifles of previous generations, having accuracy of about 3 to 5 MOA as a standard accuracy. There are ones out there that are more accurate, but as a standard accuracy, you're going to get about 3 to 5 MOA out of these rifles, and that's just normally what it is that you would expect from these. Now, 3 to 5 MOA is not exceptionally accurate. Most of your modern guns, even your budget tier modern guns, can do better than 3 to 5 MOA, and that's just because of modern manufacturing and the way that we produce things nowadays. So a lot of times people will take these modern guns out that are capable of sub MOA accuracy in some cases, and they will bench rest themselves and get themselves proper and pull the trigger, and they will find themselves with like a 4-inch group or something like that, and they're like, what the hell? Yeah, why is that? What is the deal with trying to figure out accuracy of a rifle? Well, taking your rifle, if it's a military surplus rifle like this, and putting a bullet in it to see if it has any barrel life left, that's just going to tell you that your round's probably not going to keyhole. That is not a good indication of your rifle being particularly accurate. If you want to get yourself as accurate as possible with your rifle, there's a couple of things that you have to do. And as a matter of fact, the Swiss do it really, really well. I actually have this right here. This is a Swiss K31 straight pull rifle, considered to be one of the finest, most accurate rifles in the world. Now, with these rifles right here, one of the big things that makes these rifles so gosh darn accurate is consistency whenever it comes to the barrel and the chamber of the firearm. Everything is exactly the size that it's supposed to be. If you want to really get accuracy, you got to figure out the diameter of the bore of your barrel. And you got to figure out, first you need a barrel that's not worn out. Let's just get that out of the way. You need a barrel where the rifling is nice and sharp and crisp, and it's not been shot to hell by some previous soldier in some previous war. You need a rifle that still has plenty of life in the barrel. You're better off getting yourself a new gun as opposed to a military surplus firearm. So if you got yourself a rifle that has plenty of life left in the barrel, and you know the exact size of the barrel, oftentimes you can figure this out by actually slugging the barrel. Look up how to do that if you don't know what slugging a barrel even is. And you measure out the diameter of that, and you want to make sure that you use proper sized bullets that fit properly in that same diameter that your rifle is in. I know a lot of your military surplus firearms, the barrels, the actual internals of the barrels can vary by like 5/1000ths of an inch, and that can dramatically throw off your accuracy of your rifle, and that's just what the accuracy was for those rifles back during that time period. That's why they had a 3 to 5 MOA accuracy for those old military surplus rifles, and that's just something that the Swiss got very good at. They got really, really good at not having issues like that whenever it came to different tolerances for their rifles. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that they weren't involved in any wars, and they didn't have to produce a tremendous amount of rifles really, really rapidly and give them to as many soldiers as possible. But your modern guns nowadays kind of fall into that category of being much more precise and exact with 1,000-inch measurements in comparison to your old school military surplus rifles. So figure out the exact diameter of your rifle and get bullets that are sized accordingly to that rifle's diameter. That is a really good way to increase your accuracy, making sure you have exact proper sized bullets. Now on top of that, your ammunition also has to be consistent. Not only your barrel, but your ammo as well. those bullets have to be the exact same size. They can't vary by, you know, a thousandth of an inch like military surplus ammo will. Military surplus ammo will vary by like three or four thousandths of an inch one way or the other, and that will severely throw off your accuracy. On top of that, they will vary in the grains of gunpowder by like up to 2 grains, and that will severely throw off your accuracy as well. Now, granted, it's not going to make it to where you dramatically miss your target by several feet, but you go from potentially a sub-MOA group to a 4 MOA group simply because of those minor variations in your ammunition. If you have, you know, 1 extra grain of gunpowder inside of your rifle, that's a little bit more pressure, a little bit more velocity, a little bit of a change of impact. Or if your bullet weight is slightly different than the previous bullet that you just shot, then that's going to be a little bit of a difference. You got to make sure your ammo, the bullet weight, the dimensions of the actual brass case itself, the type of gunpowder it is that you're using, the weight of the gunpowder, the type of projectile, you got to make sure everything is absolutely spot on whenever it comes to everything being exactly the same. So the consistency of the ammunition is probably the absolute biggest factor that's going to attribute to having an accurate rifle. That's another thing that the Swiss did really, really well. This is a GP11 round for the 7.5 Swiss. This is regarded as some of the nicest, most accurate ammunition ever in the world. It's a 308 diameter bullet. Some people say 306, but these do gauge out to a 308 diameter projectile. And it uses smokeless powder. And these right here tend to be exceptionally consistent whenever it comes to the amounts and types of powder used and the weight and size of the projectile. And all of that attributed with having rifles that are extremely accurate in their tolerances with the chamber, the bolt lockup, and the rifling in the barrel, and you have the makings of an overwhelmingly accurate rifle. As a matter of fact, I think these rifles with their open sights hold the world record out to 2,200 plus yards. I can't quite remember what the actual number is, but they're overwhelmingly accurate rifles because of exactly that. Now, on top of all of this, if you have a really good made rifle and you have really good made ammunition, everything is nice and consistent, you yourself as a shooter also have to be a pretty competent, accurate, and capable shooter. A lot of times whenever I bring people out, actually the other day I was teaching some guy about this, whenever I bring people out to a gun range and they're shooting and not doing very accurately and they're having trouble and whatnot, I'll pretend to load a round into their firearm and then I'll have them shoot it. I'll be like, hey, I'm watching your technique. And then they'll go to shoot it. There's no round, it doesn't go bang or anything like that, but they see how much their firearm moves, whether it's a handgun or a rifle. And like, you see how much movement you have there? That's a lot of movement whenever you reach that 100-yard mark, and that's why you're not getting much accuracy. So whenever it comes to shooting accurately, you want to make sure that you don't have a lot of movement with your firearm. And you're not going to get that from offhand shooting. We're people, we have heartbeats, we have nerves, we move, we sway around a little bit. Unless you're Jared McCormick with your nerves of literal steel, you're going to be swaying back and forth ever so slightly. And even if it's just fractions of an inch down here, you get out to 400, 500, 600 yards, and you're going to see some significant spread. Suddenly your sub-MOA rifle becomes a 3 to 4 MOA rifle simply because of your movement. Your hand gets tired, your eyes get tired, something happens to where you're starting to move around. A lot of times, if you want to do accurate shooting, you're going to have to do some bench resting, and you want to make sure that you're set up in a position to where your rifle is moving as little as possible. The people that shoot these guns out at incredibly long ranges, they will actually have some sort of rest or mount that they have the gun fastened inside of to ensure that as much human error is taken out as possible. This way they can ensure that the firearm is not swaying back and forth and it's not moving around, and they can get as accurate as they possibly can. Now, even if the gun is not moving around, if your ammunition is inconsistent or your bullets are the wrong size for your barrel, or if your barrel's worn out, or, you know, insert XYZ situation here, you're not going to have an accurate rifle. You're still going to have that 3, 4, 5 MOA group, unless your rifle keyholes because you have a military surplus rifle and the bore is worn out, in which case there's not really much that you can do about that, except maybe counterbore it or get a new barrel or, you know, insert whatever it is that you want to do for that particular topic, but that's way beyond the scope of this video. Get it? Scope. We're talking about accuracy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that one. Anyway, hopefully you guys learned something whenever it comes to accuracy with these firearms. There's a lot of different things that you have to look at. It's not just, hey, this rifle's really accurate, and then you go down to the store and pick up some Remington Core-Lock, and now you have like a 3 to 4 MOA rifle when you were getting sub-MOA groups with your match grade ammo. The ammunition does matter, and the consistency of the rifle does matter. I've seen people that have sub-MOA Mossberg Patriots, and other people with Mossberg Patriots from like the same batch of Mossberg Patriots end up getting like rifles that have like 6 MOA, simply because of the manufacturing and the different tolerances and whatnot that you're going to find in these rifles. Even if something is off by a little bit, like thousandths of an inch, you're going to see diminished accuracy. Okay, hopefully you guys learned something. If not, then I apologize. If you have, though, then let me know what you learned, or subscribe to the channel, because that would definitely help me out plenty. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you guys on the next episode.
Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.